welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. We're focusing on the big story, the India-Russia big meetings ahead of Putin visit. Now, India and Russia are stepping into one of their most crucial defense moments in years. Just weeks before President Putin lands in Delhi, Moscow has dropped a stunning proposal offering India full production rights and unrestricted technology transfer for the Su-57 stealth fighters. Here is a report.
As India prepares to host Russian President Vladimir Putin this December, defense has suddenly become the centerpiece of a rapidly intensifying diplomatic week. And Moscow has now dropped what many are calling its most dramatic military pitch to India in years, one that could reshape the future of India's air power. But first, Russia knows timing matters. Putin's upcoming India visit is expected to deliver major announcements across the defense spectrum, and the diplomatic groundwork is already visible. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met President Putin in Moscow, held a detailed conversation with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and participated in the SCO meetings, all within a span of 24 hours. Meanwhile, in Delhi, Nikolai Patrushev, one of Putin's closest aides, met Prime Minister Narendra Modi to align positions before the summit. It is against this backdrop that Moscow made its move. At the Dubai Air Show, Russia stunned Delhi by offering something no Western partner has ever even hinted at: full licensed production of the Su-57, fifth-generation stealth fighter inside India, backed by unrestricted technology transfer.
The Russian side, represented by Rosoboronexport and USC, is offering to India supply of Su-57 fighter produced in Russia, with subsequent organization of production of the aircraft in India and technology transfer.
This isn't just about assembling aircraft from imported kits. Moscow says it is willing to open up the entire fifth-generation ecosystem: engines, sensors, stealth materials, avionics, and far more.
We are offering technological learning of fifth-generation technologies, including engines, optics, AESA radar, AI elements, low-signature technologies, and modern air weapons.
If delivered, this offer would give India capabilities that no Western nation has been willing to transfer, not even partially. It would allow India to build, upgrade, and evolve a stealth fighter on its own terms. And the timing is no accident. India's Air Chief Marshal AP Singh has repeatedly warned that the IAF needs to induct 35 to 40 fighter jets every year for the next 20 years just to close its squadron gaps. He has linked this urgent requirement directly to India's long-term manufacturing goals under Roadmap 2047.
It is going to fly in this decade. In 2020s, 28, somewhere, that is the first flight planned. And by 2035, supposed to be inducted and operationalized in Indian Air Force as of now. As far as Su-57, S-57, correct? Su-57. So that is concerned, I just want to say is that we have to weigh all the options. And we in Defense Ministry and in Indian Air Force, we have a very set process of induction of any weapon system. And that process will be followed.
This puts the Su-57 proposal in sharp context. India is advancing its own AMCA program, but is also evaluating foreign fifth-gen options. And Moscow knows the timing matters, because Putin's upcoming India visit is he's expected to deliver major defense announcements. Behind the scenes, expectations are huge. Progress on Su-57 collaboration, S-400 deliveries, possible S-500 cooperation, expansion of joint manufacturing of Su-30 MKIs and T-90 tanks, and upgrades to the BrahMos missile program. The India-Russia defense partnership has survived geopolitical shifts, sanctions, wars, and realignments. But this moment feels different because Moscow is signaling that it wants a new era of co-development, not just buyer-seller arrangements. As Putin prepares to land in India, the message from Russia is unmistakable. If India wants fifth-generation capability, Russia is ready to build it with India, in India and on India's terms. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
And joining me now is former Director General Inspection and Safety in the Indian Air Force, retired Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin with what's on the offer here. The fact that we're looking at technology transfer, that's a massive proposal by Russia. Is it also to ensure that Russia remains relevant in this defense, not just co-production, but India being a massive market for these defense industries across the world?
India has typically had the Russian platform from the beginning. The fighters, especially, have never been taken from any of the American systems. We, Indian Air Force, have never had the American fighters in its inventory. The Ops Sindoor, in my opinion, is the turning point wherein the capability required is brought in front of everybody. The shortage of squadrons, the depleting squadrons, and the large gap between our northern and western adversaries as far as the number of squadrons go is evident to everybody. Like we covered in the promo just now, the AMCA, the fifth generation fighter, which is likely to be operationalized in Indian Air Force by 2035, is 10 years from now. So 10 years is a long period, and China has assured Pakistan of providing the fifth generation fighters, that is J-35, J-36, by early next year. So with depleted strengths and adversary having better platform is an area of concern, which I'm sure the Minister of Defense would be understanding. The Russian president visit, which is coming now, and if this news is correct, which is all across the social media and on television, it will be a game changer for India. A game changer for India because the air crew, the ground crew, the technicians, the engineers, the scientists would get to work on a fifth generation platform, which we have got from Russia, and it will help us in our own production. There is no way I think that we should not make our own aeroplane, but this learning on the job by handling and dealing with this platform will help us in a big way.
Right. Air Marshal Kapoor, game changer, very, very important. But how does India then circumvent sanctions?
The sanctions have been put across. I'm sure the pressure would be on us from all quarters to dissuade both the countries to go. But if you see what helped us in Ops Sindoor, one was S-400, we got it courtesy Russia, and second was BrahMos, again we got it courtesy Russia. So
that's right.
These Su-30s which we have are also modified with the source code shared by Russia to modify it to Indian weapons. So it is not that Russia is giving us the technology, it is giving us the source code to modify the platform as per which no other country is offering. There is no other country globally which is helping us as much as Russia is doing. So that is my
That's absolutely brilliantly put, because that's exactly what India wants at this point, to circumvent sanctions. Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, thank you so much for joining us. On statecraft, what do we discuss today? What happens when Modi and Putin stand shoulder to shoulder in Delhi despite US tariffs, EU pressure and global sanctions? Watch the full episode on India Today Global's YouTube channel. Here's an excerpt. Vladimir Putin's upcoming visit to India this December isn't just another diplomatic stopover. It's a geopolitical thunderclap echoing across Washington, Brussels, and every Western capital that believed it could strong-arm New Delhi into submission. Modi and Putin are preparing to stand shoulder to shoulder in New Delhi for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, Putin's first visit since 2021, and the timing couldn't be more dramatic. With tariffs, sanctions, and pressure campaigns intensifying, Putin landing in India is a direct challenge to the West's attempt to isolate Moscow and intimidate New Delhi. This summit is a message, a moment, and a metaphor for a world refusing to bow to Western pressure. What exactly are Modi and Putin planning to signal when they stand shoulder to shoulder in New Delhi? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. This moment doesn't exist in isolation, and it doesn't come out of nowhere. India and Russia have spent the last 3 years holding their ground under sanctions, tariffs, and relentless pressure, refusing to tear apart a partnership that has endured wars, geopolitical crises, Cold War flips, and Western displeasure. Modi and Putin last met at the SCO summit in Tianjin in China earlier this year, discussing energy, finance, and global stability while pointedly reaffirming their special and privileged strategic partnership. They've absorbed American tariffs, shrugged off European warnings, and continued talking about peace in Ukraine without condemning Moscow. But as Putin lands in Delhi for the 23rd Annual Summit, the stakes are higher than ever. Because this time, are they openly daring the West together? Trump went so far as to slap punitive tariffs of up to 50% on Indian goods, claiming New Delhi was indirectly funding Russia's war efforts. But India didn't buckle. Instead, it defended its sovereign energy choices, exposed Western double standards, and refused to condemn Russia. This December visit is not just a summit. It's the culmination of a year-long show of defiance. New Delhi and Moscow are preparing to sign a landmark labor mobility agreement that will create structured pathways for thousands of skilled Indian workers to legally work in Russia in sectors like construction, textiles, engineering, and electronics. For Russia, it fills critical labor shortages caused by sanctions and demographic challenges. For India, it opens fresh opportunities for skilled migration in an economy hungry for global placement. And for the world, it delivers a political message. India is not afraid to deepen cooperation with a sanctioned Russia, even in sensitive areas like workforce mobility. As rupee-ruble settlements expand and local currency mechanisms gain traction, India and Russia are quietly building an alternative, sanctions-resistant financial corridor. Defense will also take center stage because despite diversification and Western pressure, Russia remains India's primary military supplier. Russia is also open to offering technology transfer for the Su-57 fifth-generation stealth fighter without restrictions, adding that any demand from the Indian side is completely acceptable. Sanctions have complicated procurement cycles and slowed joint projects, but the December summit aims to stabilize these systems. And as Putin meets Modi, Ajit Doval structured discussions with Nikolai Patrushev covering maritime security, shipbuilding, blue economy initiatives, and strategic stability will feed directly into the summit narrative. Multi-domain cooperation, not hesitation. Every handshake, every meeting, every agreement being finalized ahead of the visit signals one thing: the relationship is expanding, not retreating. US President Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who was on a two-day visit to Washington, D.C. MBS received a state visit-like welcome, and there were a lot of deals that were signed, including a pledge of $1 trillion investment for the United States of America. Mahashweta Lala with this report.
It was all pomp and splendor when Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, popularly called MBS, arrived at White House's South Lawn. Though not the head of the state, but a de facto ruler of the Saudi kingdom, MBS received an almost state visit-like welcome. MBS's visit comes after a hiatus of 7 years following the killing of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Though former President Joe Biden vowed to make Saudi Arabia a pariah state and later on his visit fist bumped with the Crown Prince, President Donald Trump's relation has never waned. And this cordial and strategic relation was evident when a reporter asked MBS about the Khashoggi murder. President Trump immediately jumped to his guest's defense, calling the media house fake news and describing the murder as something that happened without the Crown Prince's knowledge.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the worst in the business. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
MBS too responded to the Khashoggi question. His first reaction to the journalist's murder.
About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way, and it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Export licenses for advanced chips were a crucial part of the talks. Earlier, Saudi Arabia had promised to make $600 billion of investments in the United States. But as the leaders met, they decided to up the investment figure to $1 trillion.
We are not creating fake opportunities to, please America, please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand a huge need of computing power, and we're going to spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're going to have with North America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in the short term by $50 billion from North America, and long term with hundreds of billions of dollars in the long term.
But the visit was not only about geopolitics and business. It was also about sports personalities and top business honchos who attended a gala dinner hosted by the President and the First Lady in the honor of the Crown Prince. Tesla CEO and former Dodge head Elon Musk, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, Portuguese soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo, who had joined the Saudi club Al Nassr at the end of 2022 on a reported $200 million a year contract, Apple CEO Tim Cook, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and key Trump cabinet members. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives voted to force the release of Justice Department files on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, an outcome President Donald Trump had fought for months before ending his opposition. This, indeed, is seen as a victory for the alleged victims of Epstein and a challenge for President Donald Trump. Listen in to what he had to say.
As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But but I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it out?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong.
According to a Reuters Ipsos poll, President Donald Trump's approval rating fell to 38%, the lowest since his return to power, with Americans unhappy about his handling of the cost of living and the investigation into the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump had started his second term with 47% of Americans giving him a thumbs up. The poll also comes at a time when the U.S. Congress has unanimously voted for the release of Epstein files, which Trump administration has been trying to delay. The Epstein controversy is a bone of contention as differences erupted between President Trump and his long-term ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Later, Trump urged Republicans to vote for the forced release of the files. Another reason for the dip in Trump's popularity is that there is a perception that Trump isn't doing enough to help households with everyday expenses. Just 26% of Americans say Trump is doing a good job at managing the cost of living, down from 29% earlier this month. The pace of inflation has remained high since Trump took office in January, with U.S. consumer prices up 3% in the 12 months through September, even as the job market has weakened. That's all in this edition of India Today Global. Keep watching India Today for all the latest news and updates. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.